Albert Camus was a French-Algerian philosopher. He was born in Mondovi, Algeria in 1913. His mother was forced to raise him by herself after the death of his father a year after his birth. His mother was impoverished and nearly dead, so both of them moved to Camus's grandmother's apartment in the Belcourt section of Algiers. Camus spent most of his time playing sports and going to school. He was tutored by an instructor named Louis Germain, and in 1923 he was accepted to the School of Philosophy at the University of Algiers, but ended up taking a break due to his case of tuberculosis. Camus joined the Communist Party in 1934, but his relationship with the party was not an easy one. In 1938, Camus became a journalist for an anti-colonialist newspaper called the Alger Republican. He reported solely on the general state of Muslims in the Kabylie region, which caught the attention of the Algerian government. Camus left Algeria in 1940 for Paris, hoping to work as a reporter there. This same year, the German army invaded France, so he returned to North Africa. He was immediately forced to leave Iran because the government saw him as a threat to national security. He arrived to Paris just before the German army had taken Paris and most of northern France. In 1943, Camus joined a clandestine resistance cell and newspaper that was founded in 1942 for underground intelligence and sabotage, which was called The Combat. He carried a false identity and would often smuggle news about the war to the Parisian public through the newspaper. He became its editor in 1943. Camus began to formalize his philosophy during this period of time, that no matter how inexplicable existence may be, human life remains sacred. During the war, Camus published a number of works which have become associated with his absurdist nature, especially one of his more famous books, as we know of today as The Stranger. Camus remained a strong advocate for human rights throughout his life until his death in 1960, where he suffered a horrible car accident on his way to Paris. In Camus's The Stranger and the Myth of Sisyphus, he embodies a strong work of French essentialist and absurdist literature. In The Stranger, he uses his leading character, Mersault, to emphasize his belief that nothing in life matters because we all end up dying. In The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus proposes his notion of the absurdity of life and his belief that there is no purpose or order in the world. Camus wasn't a big believer in the hard work pays off mentality. We see this aspect of him through Mersault in The Stranger. Mersault has no desire to go beyond the norm and succeed in life. He tends to abandon the rest of the world throughout the book, abstaining from any ambition or desire in his life. The only time he really wakes up to the reality of life is when the shooting of the Arab occurs. In the Myth of Sisyphus, death is described as the ultimate or metaphysical freedom. When Mersault's mother dies, he believes that nothing has changed in his life, and he goes back to work immediately. Mersault spends no time expressing any emotion or signs of grief after the passing of his late mother.
Mama died today. Or maybe yesterday. I'm not sure. A telegram from the home said, "Your mother passed away. Funeral tomorrow. Deepest sympathy." The home for the aged is about 50 miles from Algiers. I took the 2 o'clock bus. It was very hot. I fell asleep.
Madame Mersault?
Yes. Will you take me to see Mama right away?
First, our warden would like to see you.
Yes, all right.
We'll have to bury her quickly. It's so hot out here on the plain. You know, in this part of the country, everything goes fast, even funerals.
What an awful thing to say to monsieur. That's not nice at all.
Oh, that's quite all right. It's interesting,
way.
really.
In The Stranger, Camus illustrates the development of Mersault in a hostile world. Camus presents Mersault as somewhat of a monster. Although we do see many signs of Mersault's evil intentions, such as the killing of the Arab man and his emotionless nature when his mother dies, Mersault is just an average guy who struggles relating to the rest of society. At one point in the book, Mersault even presents an image of a blinding sun. This blinding sun represents his initial inability to control his emotions and the overall transformation in learning how to welcome his feelings in a positive way towards the end of the novel. Mersault learns to appreciate life after his is almost over. Camus emphasizes the alienation of people who are somewhat different from society by bringing up the mass number of people who showed up to watch the execution of Mersault. These people found meaning in their life by justifying the death of a man who just simply was a little different from the rest of society.